We shouldn't have done a video. We should just put this all in the comment box.
We'll just do it like
and go kill yourself. And go kill yourself for this one too.
Hello, Reject Nation. It's Greg Alba here.
And it's John over here.
You guys have been in three videos now. Say your names.
I am
Vanessa.
Robert. Why not?
Late to the Party is here with us today. A great reaction channel that also provides great commentary. I absolutely mean it. So please go check these guys out.
And deep cut movie trivia knowledge.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Way better than us on the Schmodown, that's for sure.
I still want the reaction faction, my friend. We need to form up.
Our faction is really solid. So
Gonna have to break that one up.
8 actors who will definitely ruin upcoming films. Are you guys ready to see if we agree? I think we are.
Yes.
I don't like doing these lists. It's basically me, a man who looks like every villainous crack addict ever, telling people that celebrities are going to ruin films they've not even appeared in yet. It's all speculation. Yet it does highlight how important it is to get a film's casting right.
Yeah.
Get it wrong, and the film dies. Franchise
Jake Lloyd.
down, and the fans take up their metaphor.
Are you a ninja?
Pitchforks, and we make another list about how we were right, and you don't want that because we're smug enough. With this in mind, I'm Jules, WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 actors who will definitely ruin it. Rihanna, Ocean's 8.
What, really?
After the Ghostbusters debacle, the female-led spin-off Ocean's 8 is bound to cause controversy when it lands next summer. I don't actually care what gender you are, nor your beliefs. Just make the goddamn film good.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the film's chances of success has already been compromised somewhat by the weak link in the casting chain that is Rihanna.
Really?
She is a woman of many talents for sure, but anyone who sat through Battleship or Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets will tell you that acting is not one of them.
She was in it for 2
About
seconds.
this whole situation is that she'll be starring in Ocean's 8 alongside some immensely skilled actresses like Kate Blanchett, Helena Bonham Carter, and Sandra Bullock. It will only serve to highlight her shortcomings, and she'll have no lavish CGI to hide behind.
That's probably a safe
Number 7,
point.
Paul T. Taylor, Hellraiser Judgment. Hellraiser fans don't have anything personal against Paul T. Taylor. He just doesn't have any business playing Pinhead while there's still life left in the great Doug Bradley, aka my dad. Horror movie icons rarely goes down well because the actor who's been bringing them to life across the ages becomes synonymous with the character, and when they don't have a hockey mask to hide behind, it's all too noticeable. Dimension Films pulled the same stunt with 2011's Hellraiser Revelations by casting Stephen Smith Collins as the Cenobite, and that failed miserably. Taylor might look the part when in full makeup, but nobody wants to see a Hellraiser movie with somebody else in the lead role, especially in one that was seemingly made just so Dimension can hold on to the rights of the franchise. Number 6, Zac Efron. Extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile. Extremely wicked, shockingly evil. The words that Pete used to describe the decision to cast Zac Efron as the lead in the upcoming Ted Bundy biopic.
What?
Yeah, you know that?
Playing heartthrob and comedy roles is playing the notorious serial killer, rapist, kidnapper, thief, and necrophile.
What?
Exactly what part of that did they think was going to work? Sure, the High School
He has
Musical
good
star
looks.
has
He's
dabbled
dashing.
in darker roles such as Parkland and the downright weird Paperboy, but nothing that qualifies him to play the deeply disturbed murderer. Although it will be funny to think of all the tween fan faces displaying horror when Zack Attack starts bonking corpses. Number 5, James Corden as Peter
Okay.
Rabbit. James Corden works well enough in small doses. Half-hour sitcom episodes, talk shows, and the occasional bit part in a Hollywood movie, but no one wants to hear him voice a CGI rabbit for over an hour. He was tolerable in
We're not the
Into Woods, but
demographic.
again, he wasn't the sole focus. I've got nothing against the man, but he's not what I imagine as the voice behind one of my childhood icons. He's a little too over the top and way too smarmy, which just doesn't suit Peter's cute and endearing nature, referring Peter Austin. But you know what? I won't rabbit on about the subject, otherwise we're just splitting hairs. So let's just say he's called my lop-on. Number 4, Taron Egerton, Robin Hood. In fairness,
He's pretty
to Mr.
cool.
Egerton,
Yeah, I
he won't
could
be
see
the
that.
most miscast Robin Hood of all time, as that honour will always go to Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
But the Kingsman actor is a forfeit
Carry
for
always.
folklore nonetheless. Egerton, of course, played
very
an exaggerated
dashing.
version of himself in the Kingsman series, and that kind of thing might have gone down well in a more light-hearted Robin Hood reboot. But this origin tale is being
There he
presented as a
I'm telling you.
reimagining that takes its cue from Peaky Blinders. So, this version of the Prince of Thieves will most likely be a brooding anti-hero scarred by the Crusades. In other words, nothing like any of the characters that Egerton has made a name for himself playing. So, why was he cast in this role? Number 3, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas.
They're gonna ruin it.
Oh my god.
Really dumb. I didn't enjoy it.
I get it though. Don't continue their story.
At the end, there was little merits. That's just my opinion, okay? It's why I'm genuinely worried about the sequel. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are good actors in their own right, but their characters of Owen and Claire were just so boring. Trite dialogue arseholes that just spewed cliches at one another until the Raptors came home. And because it's a sequel, we can assume that unless there's going to be a massive character shift, that they're going to be the same milquetoast couple that they were before. Because let's face it, it's never been about the humans, these films.
The dinosaurs.
Yep. Just fingers crossed one of them dies. Number 2, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator 6.
He's the best part of Terminator 5.
Because nobody really wants to see
part
a
of all
Terminator
Terminators.
film without Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. They tried it before, and it did not work. But here's the thing,
But that's
Terminator 6
self-injected.
finds itself in something of a catch-22 situation because it's unlikely to work with Arnie now that he's over 70 years of age. There are two
Still kick
possible
my
ways
ass.
the sequel might be able to use him. I mean, he could play an aging T-800 again like he did in Giant Ice Ice, or he could play the human that the Terminators were originally based on, which James Cameron has strongly hinted at in his interviews. Neither of those scenarios are going to go down well, though. Arnie was pretty unconvincing as a geriatric killing machine in the last movie, but having him in a Terminator movie and in a non-Terminator role would be too distracting and just wouldn't sit right.
Really?
And number 1, Sophie Turner, X-Men Dark Phoenix. I love Game of Thrones and I love X-Men, but seeing Sophie Turner churn out a lifeless performance as Jean Grey was painful. To call her wooden would have been an insult to the raw material itself. Most of it was down to a lack of confidence in her American accent, which she just kept on forgetting to maintain. And elevating her to be the focus of the Dark Phoenix saga is only going to highlight these issues. She's a capable actor, but she's one that's still learning. Game of Thrones is a good nesting ground for her, as we've seen her move from meek to strong in more ways than one. However, jumping from a dialogue-based show to an action film is proving to be a struggle that she just simply isn't rising to at present. And that's our negative, oh so negative list. I have fun with you. Well, drop me a comment down below letting me know which other actors you reckon might ruin upcoming films. And then why not swing by WhatCulture.com for more news and articles like this every goddamn day. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon. Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Aren't you a star? Don't forget to subscribe below, and also
course.
the people who made
Oh,
this
yeah.
video, they're right here, so go and follow them and give them
Jules
some
Kid.
love. If you want to see more content, there's probably some stuff floating up above my head. Why not check it out? It could be fun. I'm not your dad.
Pinhead's his.
Okay, well, this might be the first list from WhatCulture where I don't fully agree with a lot of what they're saying.
Quite a few.
Well, because it kind of eschews the idea that people could try something different.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Most of the time when I hear their list, I'm like, there's one or two I disagree with. This one I was like, I kind of question a lot of what they actually put down. Let's go through it a little bit. They make a good point about Rihanna possibly not really shining so strong because she's up against a lot of... There's other actresses in the list, like Sarah Paulson's in there.
Right.
Who's a fantastic actress as well. I didn't see Rihanna's big screen roles. I heard she was pretty good in Bates Motel.
We saw her in Valerian, and there's no reason for her character, but I feel like if there was anybody else in that character, it would still kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, and also it's an Ocean's movie. At the end of the day, it's an Ocean's movie.
And not everybody has to be a dynamite actor for
Yeah,
that to work.
in the Ocean's movie, you got George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Matt Damon, and no one gives a powerful performance in that movie. You
Well,
know?
yeah. And then you had like Bernie Mac from TV and comedy.
right.
It's not a movie that I think requires high caliber, strong acting. It's usually these Ocean's movies are, it's cool to just see a giant cast assembled. And while I would like them to do more, I don't imagine Rihanna will also be one of the main people we focus on.
Of course.
It seems like it'll be like Sandra Bullock and Kate Blanchett as the main faces we'll pay most attention to.
And that's the thing is you take veteran actors there and you put them with newer actors and things could happen in a good way. You get a lot of collaboration just in terms of those that have been doing it forever and those that have just started. I mean, you get something good sometimes.
Yeah.
And that could be a situation where she shines bright like a diamond.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
But for me,
I get it now.
in this story, I feel like if she were to give a kind of a performance that Alicia Keys and
Aces?
Smoking Aces, if she gives that kind of saying, because I have that feeling that maybe she'll be that kind of character.
Right.
I'm banking on it. I think that maybe she'll have that same character.
And she was a pretty good
style.
voiceover as well in Home.
Yeah.
That's the thing is Home, not our demographic, but it was pretty successful, and she
Yeah.
is the main character. It did pretty well. I know it was popular.
She could also be taking some acting lessons, to brush up for a bigger role.
And for a huge movie like this with this cast, I'm not gonna watch this movie and be like, Rihanna ruined the whole movie, guys. Paul T. Taylor is the new Pinhead.
Okay.
I'm not that familiar with I know John's really familiar with the Hellraiser franchise. Are you guys?
Sure.
Not very well, but
I know
okay.
no,
I kind
You guys
of
are
agree
Thanks.
with what he was talking about, bringing somebody else to that character. And they even showed it a little bit with Nightmare on Elm Street when they reboot it.
Jackie Earle Haley, and it wasn't Robert Englund.
Yeah, it wasn't Robert Englund, and you can totally tell you're like, that's not Freddy.
It feels
like,
different.
It just didn't work with me.
Well, people have to realize too, a lot of it does come down to direction as well. Think about the new Pennywise. People love the new Pennywise.
Of course.
But Tim Curry's Pennywise was monumental, epic, and the idea of getting a different type of Pennywise seemed very off-putting at first.
Right.
But then if you have a great director guiding you, you could bring out a fantastic performance. It's like Jackie Earle Haley in Nightmare on Elm Street. Jackie Earle Haley's a fantastic actor.
And he could have made that role.
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I still believe he could have.
Now, I don't think they're going to give as much TLC to Hellraiser reboot as they did for an It reboot. And the other part too that makes it troublesome is the main actor who played Hellraiser is still around.
Right.
Whereas Tim Curry has a condition where he can't do that anymore. When you have the actor still around, it's like, why not still use him?
It seems like, I don't know exactly for sure, but it seems like Doug Bradley's game, they brought that up as the whole, like, making movies to keep the rights and stuff. The thing about Hellraiser is that, like, I get their point, is like, there are so many movies now, you know the shape of Doug Bradley's head.
Yeah.
So after a certain point, it's always going to be a little bit distracting, but I think they could also do a lot to improve production values of that franchise, because it does seem kind of apparent that what Dimension's willing to invest is the amount that keeps them the rights, and not that makes a great Hellraiser movie.
Yeah.
It seems like they're doing what they can with what they have.
Zac Efron as Ted Bundy. This is a conflicting casting choice because Zac Efron is an actor who has grown on me a lot, primarily because of comedies, right? There's something that's to be said about when an actor grows as an actor in comedies, because I think of like Channing Tatum. I didn't really like his acting. He does 21 Jump Street. He does great in comedy, and then suddenly he's even better in dramas.
Of course.
Like, where did that come from? So for all I know, Zac Efron might be even better now as a dramatic actor strictly because of his comfortability in front of the camera now, and the fact that he's willing to do more daring, risky things. And also, in terms of looks and appeal, Ted Bundy, he was really popular for the fact that he was very charming. He was good looking. He didn't fit that typical profile because you're like, he seems like an actual charismatic, appealing dude who could actually win over a jury. And I feel like Zac Efron has that ability to do that. The problem comes is, will we be able to see past Zac Efron the way how we did with like Charlize Theron with Monster? Just go, this is just Ted Bundy. Michael Fassbender in Jobs is very different than watching Ashton Kutcher play Steve Jobs.
It's true. Yeah.
He does deserve a shot to kind of expand his acting chops. It also, like we said before, it comes down to direction as well. Like, if you have a cast and crew, it will work. And I think that Zac Efron, again, it will probably be a problem because I hope that I don't want to see Zac Efron be Zac Efron. I don't want him. That's probably the issue that I will have.
Maybe
is that
transform.
Yeah, we need him to not be Zac Efron. I'll be like, oh, I'm just watching Zac Efron playing Ted Bundy instead of I'm watching Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a gamble more than it is like, oh, what were you thinking? I'm like, part of the charm is that it's parallel. Like, Zac Efron is super handsome and charming, just like Ted Bundy was, like you pointed out.
Right.
And I think it'll come down to, does he have that sort of Tom Hardy level of like being able to just change your expressions and your mannerisms a bit? The stakes here for me are that it's hard to make a good serial killer biopic. Not many good ones exist. And like My Friend Dahmer just came out, and
that guy was a Disney actor.
Right.
Yeah.
Austin and Ally.
Yeah.
And that makes me think about this because that movie got pretty good receptions, which is better than a lot of the serial killer biopics are.
Yeah.
And so it'll come down to the quality of the movie as well as his performance.
James Corden as Peter Rabbit. I don't really get why I feel like they're just really biased against James Corden. That's what it really read off to me as. They just don't really like James Corden in general. I like James Corden. I've seen him do like bits here here and there. I don't think I've seen him like lead a full like fictional thing.
The movie he did with Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo, I liked him legit in
Yeah,
that movie.
and I don't think he'd be like that annoying or over the top for a voiceover role either.
Right.
Like, it seems like something I would be like totally fine with. Yeah.
And that's the thing is they did Paddington, and Paddington came out, and it was something that was so charming that everybody loved it, whether it was the kids and the adults. If they approach it that same style, where he's not over the top, but he is a little bit more, family friendly in terms of just someone you would welcome this little rabbit into your home. I mean, they will kill it
And
with
Corden's
Peter
more than
Rabbit.
capable of doing that.
He absolutely is.
Easily.
It is very biased to the fact but I can also understand because it's something that he grew up with.
Right.
Yeah.
And he loves. And you have somebody, like, it's like one of those where you have somebody pictured in your mind, and then when it actually, you see it on screen or see it in a big theater, and it's not that person or it's not that voice that you heard, you kind of get disappointed a little bit.
I just discovered this movie existed, and I grew up with Peter Rabbit too, and there's nothing about James Corden to me that suggests that he can't do something that's sweet and endearing and on pitch, because he's already a sweet-seeming, affable guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I don't have any trouble seeing him doing this movie. I'm more concerned about what the movie is. You know, this sort of live-action CG thing is more what I would be worried about than the casting of James Corden.
Yeah. Taron Egerton as Robin Hood. That's another one where I'm like, I could totally see Taron Egerton pulling this off.
Absolutely.
If you see Kingsman, granted, yes, they're right in the sense that the films are like, Eddie the Eagle and Kingsman are much lighter tone than something that they're advertising this new Robin Hood film to be like.
Right.
The thing though is he's very believable in Kingsman and in Eddie the Eagle, and they're very different characters.
Very different.
Very different mannerisms and voices. They're super, super different. And the fact that he can pull that off, even if it's a lighter tone film, makes me just automatically go like, yeah, of course he can pull off a Robin Hood.
Why wouldn't he?
Why wouldn't he be able to do that? Just because he hasn't done something gritty necessarily doesn't mean he wouldn't be able to do it, when I feel like this might even be less challenging.
Possibly a step down for him, even for the next steps that he needs to do. We have a million Robin Hoods. We have a million King Arthurs. We have, there's all these characters that we keep going back to. So if they did approach it in a different way, I'm just hoping it does not fall into the same category as those other movies where it's like, oh, now here's another Robin Hood again.
Kind of like what John was saying about Peter Rabbit is kind of how I feel about this. I'm like, I'm way less concerned about Taron Egerton than I am more concerned about how's this movie going to be.
No, I could totally see Taron being Robin Hood. He has like that very suave way of being Robin Hood. And I can totally see him go a different direction, like you said before, Greg, about how he is two different characters in these two different movies, and he plays them so well in both scenes, and you don't see Eggsy in Eddie the Eagle, and you don't see his character in Eddie the Eagle and Eggsy. Them casting him as Robin Hood, I feel like they know what they're doing. He must have done something to prove to them that, like, okay, you're the Robin Hood that we envisioned to be in this part in this movie.
Kingsman proves he's got the body build and he can fight.
Right.
Like, he seems perfect.
Well,
for
he
Robin
does
Hood.
parkour, doesn't he? Doesn't he actually do
I think he
parkour?
does part because in Kingsman there's that one
jumping
shot
out,
where you're like, whoa, he really does this.
The only thing that bugs me about his casting in this, because I'm with you guys, I'm sort of like, I don't know if we need another gritty Robin Hood movie. Like, we did that with Russell Crowe, and that didn't work so great either.
Right.
This formula, it may be a little played out, but my only concern about casting Taron Egerton is that I just wish he would have done this role later, because we're getting to know him as an actor, and he's doing Kingsman, and he's doing Eddie the Eagle and stuff like that. I feel like a few more movies down the line, he as Taron Egerton is established. It's not reliant on Kingsman or any other thing. Then I can see him as Robin Hood. But right now, I'd be a little distracted trying to lose him into that character.
That's totally possible too, because it kind of gives me that feel as well. Like with Daisy Ridley, her being a Star Wars, they're kind of pulling her to these other roles that I'm not sure that she'll fit in, because they're just putting her because she's in Star Wars. And I feel like maybe too, they're pulling Taron because he did so well in Kingsman, and he's very likable with the audience right now. Well, we have to get somebody that will probably bring people to the theater, because Taron, he was in that Kingsman movie.
And you can word associate, because they borrow the King Arthur stuff in that movie, so you can like associate your way to being like, Oh, Robin Hood, okay.
Yeah. This was pretty funny. Because this is probably the only one I'm like, you could be 100% right.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. Really quick. John
I don't like those characters.
How do you guys feel about Jurassic World?
It might have been because of when we went to the theater, everyone was super pumped and so excited that it was like, this movie, but then I haven't watched it since then.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
Oh, not once.
Because the only stuff it truly gets right is the cool dinosaur stuff.
The dinosaurs and the moments, those moments that hit for the first time with that audience, it was great. Not one of them was Bryce Dallas Howard and
very
Chris,
few redeeming factors in that movie
and
relate to the cast.
Yeah.
I totally agree with him with them being these just like going banter back and forth. Because I remember like watching them and I was like, I don't really care. Like, let's just get to the good parts.
Yeah, like if they did a sequel and they said they're not returning, I could care less.
And it kind of feels like it should have gone that way, though.
Yeah.
It feels like, okay, we moved on. The park is dismantled. If anything, bring Chris Pratt back. Let's give him a whole new gamut of actors to play with, especially Jeff Goldblum, which we know is coming back. I don't need them to come back. I don't know if it'll ruin it if they figure out a clever way in the writing to be able to push it forward. But again,
If they write
the
them
writing,
well.
the writing, they're just going, it's the dinosaurs, it's the action scenes, it's the popcorn, and it's the billions of dollars that comes with it.
Well, no movie, ever since the first Jurassic Park, has been able to nail down interesting human characters in this Jurassic Park franchise since the first one. It feels like they've all gotten distracted with dinosaurs.
Every time.
Which is so important and integral. What made the first one so great was beyond going, you care about the characters. The characters are just great in the first one.
First Jurassic Park, the characters actually have a story.
Right.
You know, and in Jurassic World and a lot of the sequels, it feels like, how do we get people near dinosaurs?
I've been wanting to do a video about the new Terminator movie because we did one video on it where I was pretty I'm not excited for this. This sounds stupid. Because oftentimes when we hear the quotes from James Cameron and Tim Miller talking about this new Terminator, they just give you like quotes in an article. I watched the entire interview they did. I think it was from Variety or Hollywood Reporter, and it was like a 45-minute interview, which really, I started talking with John about it. I'm like, I actually am very excited for it, and I trust them now. There's so much to the entirety of the interview where you see they factored in everything. They factored in every little detail, and they've secretly been working on this hardcore for many, many months now. And they've hinted at what they want Arnold to possibly be, that he probably wouldn't be a Terminator, but some human version. I don't think it would ruin the film. Like, to say these actors will ruin the movie is kind of ridiculous to me, because it also doesn't sound like that Arnold will be the main. Yeah,
they're not Jai Courtney.
If you say Zac Efron sucks as Ted Bundy, that will ruin the movie. Yes. But if Arnold sucks in Terminator, they sound like they got this whole much bigger thing going on than just Arnold being in it. That I don't think it could ruin the entire film.
It's kind of like their forte in the Terminator movies, where it's after 2, of course, where they're like, we're going to just get some cookie cutter actor and throw it in there. And the two that are like the top cookie cutter actors are Sam Worthington and Jai Courtney, and both of them were in Terminator movies. So it's like, if they can at least put more quality actors with Arnold, whether he's a human, whether he ends up being a Terminator, like that will end up propelling these movies into a whole, resurgence of the franchise. Was Resurgence one of them? Anyways.
Terminator Resurgence.
No! At this point, Terminator is going to come down to James Cameron and Tim Miller, and I have some faith, kind of because of Tim Miller, because of sticking to his guns, leaving Deadpool for creative differences, and he seems gung-ho about this. And I mostly trust James Cameron's judgment.
Yeah.
I feel like he could still be sharp. So Arnold isn't going to break this movie, I don't think. It needs to be a good, like, in this landscape where we keep revitalizing the classics from before that we love but can't figure out how to perpetuate.
At this point, Arnold just needs to be in it.
I just need Arnold to return back to the Kindergarten Cop franchise, and he can be an old teacher teaching these kids how to fight drug dealers that live down the street.
Jingle all the way.
Okay.
3,
Who is your grandson and what does he do?
Sophie Turner and XMen Dark
This movie
Phoenix.
was bad to begin with.
Well, yeah, I mean, Apocalypse itself, none of the new cast members were really that great in it. And it just seemed like the one Bryan Singer seemed less passionate about to begin with. He has got these young actors, like young Cyclops wasn't cool, young Jean. First off, the X-Men franchise has not gotten Jean Grey down at
Right.
all. Not even when they had
Famke Johnson.
Yeah, Famke. That's why you're
It's in the Schmodown.
Yeah.
Xenia Onitoff.
Not even her was great. It's kind of just a disappointment what they've been doing with the Jean Grey character. Now for this one, they're calling this XMen Dark Phoenix. Simon Kinberg, he worked on the script for X-Men The Last Stand. I feel like he's going to put a lot of attention to detail because this is his first time he's directing an X-Men movie. First movie he's directing. This is his chance to do right what he did, everything that went wrong with the Dark Phoenix story. I imagine that this time around that he's going to do his best to make sure Jean Grey kicks ass in the film. X-Men 2 is like, yeah, she is Dark Phoenix, so it's very important that she does a great job. At the same time, though, it's X-Men. There's a huge ensemble of characters.
Of course.
This is one of those cases where I feel like you can walk out specifically pinpointing if Sophie Turner does a good job or not. Like, it might be one of the things you talk about. Same time, though, I don't think she could ruin the entirety of the film because there's already such a huge cast that no one's gonna like, I really want to see Jean Grey, even though it's called Dark Phoenix.
You can totally tell, though, too, from when she started on Game of Thrones to now, like, her acting ability has really evolved. And I didn't care for her character in Game of Thrones because of the way that she portrayed, and granted she was
naive. She was a naive character.
But now I'm just like, I'm really excited when she's on screen and the way that she plays her character on there. I feel like she can bring a lot to Jean Grey and the Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is we can really only fairly judge this based off of what we saw in Apocalypse. Like, that is the one thing that, in terms of her character and what she's played. So, yeah, you can't really differentiate, what happens when you do have somebody that is far more invested in what is going on in the Phoenix story. The comic series, like, one of my favorite arcs in the comic series was the Phoenix. I mean, the Phoenix will rise again, the Phoenix will fall. I mean, it was definitely something that I did want to see happen correctly when it came to X-Men The Last Stand and when they took out Jean Grey in X2. Like, I was hoping for it, and it was just a waste. So yes, putting a little more time and energy. Let's focus on the Dark Phoenix and let's go from there. And hopefully, I don't think Sophie Turner will end up screwing the pooch on it. I don't know.
I mean, she did leave an impression on me by not leaving an impression on me as Jean Grey. I didn't really find anything one way or the other about her performance. And the thing is, I have not personally had a high success rate seeing Game of Thrones actors in movies. Like, Emilia Clarke couldn't carry Terminator. Nikolai Coster-Waldau is fine in the movies I've seen him in, but he doesn't seem to grab. I'm not saying they all can't do it. I'm just saying there is a thing right now where we are very much like, look, we got a Game of Thrones actor to lead this, not enticing me anymore the way it used to. This is called Dark Phoenix.
Right.
So I feel like the onus is on her to really show up and knock it out of the park. And yeah, Game of Thrones, I feel like she can, but I am not 100% confident in it yet.
I don't feel like a lot of people really cared for her as Sansa, but then she grew, not just in terms of the character and the writing, but also as a performer, she's grown. I'm optimistic in the same way how she steps her foot into this much bigger territory of Fox movie comic book. And then she gets her feet wet with that, and now she can be more comfortable coming in and knowing how to readjust or enhance certain aspects of her acting abilities for this specific tale, and I feel like she'll take it very serious.
Especially after all the feedback from what came from Apocalypse, the fallout, if you will, of the Apocalypse.
Yeah, I have faith in her. I have faith. So I wouldn't sit here and be like, she's gonna everything up. All right, well, WhatCulture, you got a long ass discussion out of us. Great debate list you put together here. Subscribe to WhatCulture because they make some great points, and they're wonderful list videos where they really just say what they want. They stick to their guns on what they're saying. Why I like them is because there's other list videos where I'm like, you're just clearly trying to satisfy YouTube commentators. But these guys just stick to their guns each and every time, and that's why I love these guys. So please subscribe to them. Subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. You can become a Patron eject today by joining our Patreon. It really does help support the channel. Plus, you get some awesome reward tiers as well. Most importantly, subscribe to Late to the Party.
LTTP.
They are also a channel that features reactions, and they are also wonderful with commentary. They kick ass on the Schmodown. Love you guys. Glad we got to hang out
Thank
today.
you for bringing us. We appreciate it so much.
And hopefully you guys have a safe trip back to Arizona.
It's a long drive home.
We can never go back to Arizona.
We could never go back to Arizona. We've got a long drive, but man, we're coasting on a high right now.
When you get there, send us some greetings.
From Tucson.
Timely references, peeps.
Alive in Tucson.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm sorry.